I wish people could see the theatrics we put on there, Jacob. For
We work
that,
so hard for
that
the non-visual audience.
man, love that. Well, it's Saturday. It is 1 hour of busted pencils, fully leaded education talk, educated educators talking education. Man, gotta love this. Producer Jacob is in the house. Me, Dr. Tim Slecker. I'm here. And Dr. Johnny Lupinacci, he's at a faculty senate meeting right now, Jacob. So he is fully doing the educated educator thing.
He must be filibustering there in that Senate because it's taken forever.
He's like, hey guys, let's keep the debate going because that way maybe I can, maybe miss the first segment of Busted Pencils.
He said, "I will now read all of Game of Thrones
Oh,
to stop this motion."
either that or pretend. I just hope that he didn't bring his taxi driver outfit with the loaded calculator.
You got to be careful with the calculators. I preach this on this show all the time. First, I think we should ban calculators in general, but if you're going to have them, you need to be careful with your calculators. Make sure there's no numbers punched in. They're absolutely at zero. But you can never be too careful, Tim. That's a throwback to the Producer's Choice show. In case people,
I was going to say, if you're going, what are these guys talking about?
Have they
Check
lost
out last Producer's Choice, Johnny Lupinacci, and the taxi driver calculator demonstration that it was one of the things that he loved about teaching. So that's all we need to say about that, right, Jacob?
Yeah. If people really want to know, they have to go back and listen to the last podcast.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen Taxi Driver, we've just given you something to do later on this Saturday after you're done listening to the show. Go out and take that. And that's Robert De Niro. What was he, like 13 when he did that movie, Jacob?
I think Jodie Foster was like 13 when she did that movie. I think Robert De Niro is just a very, very old man at this point. Unless you see him in The Irishman, where they really de-aged him to look about 70. So he looked a lot younger in that movie.
Nice. Well, and that mole, though, that characteristic mole, right there, kind of below the cheek, a little bit above the lip. He's got it there, though, man.
I'm thinking about having cosmetic surgery to add a mole to my face because I just lack that distinguishing feature. That's my big problem in life.
What happens when you grow a new mole in your 50s?
Tim, what is this show about? What do we do here? Is this what we're going to talk about? Growing moles?
Well, here's the thing. It's a lovely Saturday show.
It's a beautiful Saturday.
Over the past few weeks, we have had some great guests, some great interviews, and listener feedback was like, "You guys are great. You're bringing us some great guests." But where is just Tim, Jacob, Johnny, just telling us about everything that's going on in education, letting us know the way of the world, where everything's happening? And well, we said, you know what? Let's get back to the roots of just, education talk radio. What's happening out there? Jacob, I remember pitching Busted Pencils, the concept, and people going, you're going to have like a radio talk show about education? Why? Who would want to listen to that? Who would want to know what bulletin boards look like and things like that? I was just like, that gave me a totally invigorated sense of going, that's exactly why there needs to be a Busted Pencils education talk show.
Yeah.
Because we're not talking about bulletin boards and pencil sharpening and bathroom breaks and stuff like that. Although occasionally during the show we need to sharpen a pencil and need to take a bathroom
You're
break.
giving me ideas for producer's choice next week. I'm thinking bulletin boards, bathroom breaks. Yeah, okay, these are good. Keep
Put
free
find
associating.
another B in there, and you've got
Yeah.
a a trifecta there. But no, Jacob, what's going on in the education world? So much is going on, and man, we've got a list of news stories here. If we get to them all, it's going to be great. If we don't, we'll make sure that we mention towards the end of the show to go and check these out. But Jacob, first and foremost here, and if you're listening on Saturday, my guess is that the reality is that yes, the government will still be shut down. We are recording this on Thursday, the day 2, right, of the government
Yeah.
shutdown, or day
I,
3.
I believe we're in
Uh,
day 2.
Nothing in the news shows me that Friday, tomorrow, the day before you hear this show, they're going to figure something out, because I'm pretty sure that both sides delusionally believe this is helping them.
Well, yeah, I guess they wouldn't be doing it if they didn't at least think there's a good chance that it'll work out for them and make them look good. The thing that gives me hope, Tim, about this situation, is that whatever you want to say about politics in America right now, we've got a very reasonable president who's willing to compromise and bring people together. He's a uniter, not a divider. So
United.
we'll be good.
In fact, I think news story one coming out from NBC, so what happens during a government shutdown? Well, yes, all of those federal offices, the people that work there don't have to go to work. They get snow days, I guess, or something like that.
Sort of, yeah.
So federal employees are furloughed. People say fired. They don't show up to work. And understanding that most federal employees are yes, civilian people who have 9 to 5 jobs doing things to keep the lights on that we call America. And a big, well, you know, after Doge, there's a lot less of those federal employees.
True.
But in the Department of Education, there's a whole group of people who still work there, take care of things, except now they don't work there. And like really good, responsible people, um, the email, if you would happen to be emailing, say, somebody in the Department of Education right now, asking them a question about, will student loan forgiveness ever start back up again or something like that, you would typically get an email saying, sorry, due to the government shutdown right now, I am not able to respond to emails. However, once the government is back up and running, I will gladly get back to you. Things like that, right?
Yeah.
Just a cordial, friendly,
A standard out of office message.
yes, out of office message. And according to the news, the Department of Ed people put a very simple, I'm not here. I'll get back to you as soon as I get back to work. And lo and behold, some of them found out that the message that they put in to be, automatically generated when somebody sends them an email, the automatically generated email, somebody changed it.
No. Well, wait a minute. Who
Yes.
could it have? Well, I guess we'll see when you say what it
I-
says, right?
I don't know. And now the emails that are coming out of the Department of Ed are saying the Democrats, those lefty, crazy people, shut down the government, and I can't answer the email now. Things like that, Jacob. So, in other words, incredibly partisan emails that blame the Democrats for the shutdown. And I know somebody's out there going, well, it was their fault. And that's just the way that okay, there's a problem. there's a law
What
that forbid. Hey, no,
laws?
there there used to be. um, there still is the law now. Whether we, and in fact, there's some good comments in this story. Um, but you're not allowed to do that. Um, well, yeah, hack into somebody's email and change their message, that's a whole problem. But the reality of putting out a partisan statement as a federal employee using federally, that would mean taxpayer funded
Hmm.
technology, the wires, all those things. They're used There's a law that says they're not allowed to do things like that. And right now, you've got a bunch, or a group of federal employees right now whose doctored emails look like they sent out partisan emails. And will they now be in trouble for their emails being hacked and somebody else writing emails for them? Will this be something that they will get in trouble for?
Well, Tim,
Your
you
thoughts,
you
Jake?
you might think, well, just change it back. There's this crazy thing that happened. It says, "Hey, sorry, I can't help you right now. The Democrats hate America." You think, "Oh, well, just change it back if you notice it." Here's the problem, Tim, and we're getting this from NBC News. I'll just quote from the article.
Yeah.
One person reported changing the out of office message back to their normal nonpartisan version, only to have it revert to the crazy anti Democrat version. And they said this: none of us consented to this. And it's written in the first person as if I'm the one conveying this message. And I'm not. I don't agree with it. And I don't think that it's ethical or legal. It violates the Hatch Act. And that's exactly what you were talking about, Tim. The law that says you can't use government functions to support biased political purposes. Again, like we said, the law, do people still believe in things like that in 2025? But it's on the books, folks.
Okay, so Jacob, on this one though, this is okay. So the email sender, did they break the law and violate the Hatch Act, or did the hacking into the emails of people and posting messages that they didn't send? Isn't that another breaking of some kind of law?
Well, I would say that the person violating the Hatch Act is the one who's manipulating the system to force these messages to come out. It's, you're tricking people into being unwitting mules for carrying your weird political message across through the government. So I don't think you can blame those guys. It has to be the people who are behind this whole thing.
Well, and so that's what I'm asking the question.
And you don't need Encyclopedia Brown to find out who is behind this whole thing, by the way.
Well, I was gonna say, guess what? And geez, I wonder whose idea or where this came from. Well, we pointed it out at the beginning of the episode here. Yeah, hey, if it fits what I'm doing, I'm gonna do it. Those laws, they're just suggestions, Jacob. Hey, but more education news, lots to go on. But hey, if you're gonna hack an email, you know who to do it for. Busted Pencils. We'll be right back. Whew. Man, we are truly back for real. It's Busted Pencils, fully loaded education talk. Educated educators talking education. And yes, the Joctor is back. He
It's
brought
the
that hall
Joctor,
pass.
Johnny Lupinacci. Oh, yeah.
There he is, man. We are so glad you are back, Johnny. We figured that you were. Jacob put forth that since it was a faculty senate meeting, that maybe you were using the time and Jacob, what was that political term you?
I use fancy words sometimes. I'm sorry. Filibustering. I thought you might be filibustering up there at the Senate.
No, no, there's a lot of faculty governance on campuses for our higher ed listeners, the routine. Lots of constituency concerns these days, which is at the end of every faculty senate meeting agenda. And unlike our government shutdown, right, our faculty governance does not seem to be shut down, which I was like, hey, since the governance is shut down, does that mean no faculty senate meeting this week? No, it didn't.
Well,
mean
Johnny,
that.
I'm wondering then if this came up in the faculty senate here because we're covering the education news that is breaking right now, and Johnny, when it comes time for universities to you know get money, there typically has been a process, you know, by writing grants, doing scholarship, looking deeply, putting a lot of effort into committing to that whole idea of getting knowledge transferred. And you do lots of revisions, you get it, you send it to a government agency, it comes back with ideas. It's a process of real merit. um did you guys come up did you get to discuss the new way to get federal money?
No,
You didn't.
no. What's the new way? Fill me in?
The new way is to say, "Yes, sir." And this is the breaking news today. Yes, sir. Trump asks 9 colleges to commit to his political agenda to get favorable access to federal money.
Huh.
Yeah. So
Well,
I didn't know if you were one of those 9 colleges that.
definitely not. But let's see. I gotta take a look at this.
Well, Tim,
Because
I've started a
sometimes-
semi-legitimate correspondence program that I've been offering people, so maybe I can get in on this.
Yes,
it's sort of a
please.
Trump stakes level operation, so you should be fine with it.
Well, it just says, yeah, and this one here I'm looking at, this is out of Virginia, but this is an AP story. It is the White House is asking 9 major universities to commit to President Donald Trump's political priorities in exchange for more favorable access to federal money, called the Compact for Academic Excellence in Higher Education. It asks the universities to accept the government's definition of gender and apply it to campus bathrooms, locker rooms, and women's sports teams. It asks colleges to stop using race, gender, and a wide range of student demographics in the admissions process and require students to take their darn SATs, Johnny. And with that, you get yourself some moolah.
Tim, where did you send me this article today?
I didn't, Johnny, but let me.
Yeah,
just,
this is catching me off guard, and I'm curious of more because
If it makes you feel better, he didn't send it to me either, so I'm also
Yeah,
just listening to Tim.
he's just
hey,
So because I want to dig into what
there
this
it is, right
means
there
because-
in the chat for you.
You academics
stop.
always needing to see the actual information. It's ridiculous.
Well, sometimes you got to look at
This
as
is
social
not Tim
studies
throwing a
teacher-
sarcasm bomb at you, dude.
No, well, that's what I'm trying to sift through. But also, there's a lot of misinformation and disinformation. There's also a lot of sometimes stretching a headline on the situation, and I like to check. I like to get my information, check its sources, and really dig in to understand. So this one's catching me off guard. So I don't have any comment, and I'm thinking, I mean, not a lot of universities are going to be too hip to this, and it has very little to do with Trump. I know like raging liberals want it to be all about Trump, and it's a Trump administration, but it's just governmental overreach. And if you're a researcher, you're working within commitment to what we would call scientific consensus. Right.
Johnny, you are so bound up in the old way of doing things. In fact, Texas, in Austin, University of Texas, they are honored that they get to be part of this compact. However, dissent from California Governor Newsom said that if any universities sign on to this compact, he's going to cut them out of state funding for grants, which would be up to $2.8 billion of student financial aid. Um, wow,
This
this
sounds like
is
it sucks, Tim, to be a university in this situation where you're just really right in the middle of this big culture
Well,
war political thing.
Well, it's a good example, Tim, here of an historical overreach of
Mm,
of federal government on education. Education is a state right,
mm,
but here we go with the idea that if you want some money, it's like a
mhm.
Daddy Warbucks thing. If you want some money, do these things we want you to do, and so yeah, I'm catching up a little slow here. Long day, but it's definitely governmental overreach in my opinion, and indicative of this whole like federal government says, and Tim, like you said, they expect people to be like, we want the money, we'll say yes.
Oh man, thank God Johnny's back. And man, we got more news stories coming up. When we get back, it's Busted Pencils, fully leaded. See you in a sec. Yeah. It's Busted Pencils, fully leaded education talk. Educated educators talking education. Oh, yeah. It's a Saturday 1 hour show. Love all the people out there right now across all the civic media stations listening to us in your car. Beautiful Saturday, I'm sure. Fall, October day. Maybe you're out, walking with your headphones, taking a stroll in nature in the woods. We appreciate you being here. And yeah, if you're downloading and listening when it fits you, thank you also. It is Tim, Johnny, and Jacob. We've had great guests for the past few Saturdays, but listeners said, hey, we want to hear Tim, Johnny, and Jacob kind of just telling us what's going on, what's happening in the world, doing a little bit of that kind of free flow thinking, you know, letting Johnny have the basketball and doing all those kind of, behind the back dribbles, running up to the bat, free flowing, Jake, Johnny, or break dancing, maybe. I don't know. Johnny, though, big news story here. Democrats, and we have been very critical of Democrats going into on their education reform. We've said that Democrats have always been on the wrong side, particularly with public education. And I saw this news story and went, "Oh my God, somebody's finally got it." Rahm Emanuel has stated that Democrats have we've lost a lot of elections because of the position we've held on education. And if you look at this Fox News story, um, he thinks that Democrats need to go back to the fundamentals and the basics. And I'm paraphrasing a quote that he had in there, but Democrats have spent too much time pointing out that we need to correctly use the right pronouns for people when students don't even know what a pronoun is. And Johnny, what he's saying is we got to get back to education reform, holding kids and teachers accountable for the things that matter, math and reading. And this is going to be the Democratic strategy to win back. I don't know what, Johnny. And I'm looking at this and Jacob and going, really? What got us in this mess was the reform movement that Rahm Emanuel was trying to bring back from the dead, which is really test and punish standards, teachers, you've got no say, all of the things of which parents, teachers that created the teacher exodus. It was a horrendous time. And Emmanuel thinks this is the way back for the Democrats is to get back to the stuff that everybody hated, Johnny, Jacob?
What's him? Wow, that's a lot of stuff. From free flowing,
Eh,
passing the ball to
Free form, break
break
dancing.
dancing. Yeah, I was keeping up. And then this news story. I'm just going to point out. It happened outside of Fox News, but it's contextual here. Anything from Fox News, we're going to basically take it in context. Tim, I'm not sure that is back from the dead. I'm not sure it ever died. The high stakes testing regimen and the idea of funding directly tied to this notion of test scores, reading math. If you go into most of our elementary schools, it's predominantly reading math, a little bit of science, maybe some social studies, reading math. And that's nothing against reading and math, but Tim, I think I think it's very well and alive. And this is one of those political dog whistles. So I'm not surprised that it's championed here in the front of Fox News. But, Rama's just saying like he's attacking scientific consensus on gender identities.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not trying. And I don't do the whole liberal versus conservative thing. That's all irrelevant to this. This is scientific consensus, like what we know about gender identity. It's a dog whistle for the conservatives in our government or championing these ideas for political support. I'm going to attack pronouns, and then I'm going to say in the same news interview, I'm going to attack not only the idea of people having different identities, that which we know science has proven to us that this exists. So it's not like, hey, some woke liberals made this up. A whole lot of people in our communities have different genders than just male or female. And you might be driving like, what in the world?
What is Lupinacci talking about?
But I get it. I've been there where I'm like, I don't understand. It's gender is socially constructed. Okay, I get all that, but science is pretty cut and dry. Well, actually, we had a great show with Ethan Siegel way back in the day. It was maybe a year or so ago, where he wrote about the scientific evidence, the mounting scientific consensus. That means like the majority of different scientists around the world are saying, and I'm going to summarize, hey, there's more to gender than the doctor that looks at your parts when you're born. That this is a rather rudimentary way of assigning gender. And it's far more complex than we have reduced it to, which I'm going to come full circle around to here. When we reduce things to twos and we create this either or we have a two-party system, you leave yourself extremely vulnerable for immovable disagreement because it becomes one versus the other, right? And we have this habit of being fixed and stuck in it's this or it's that, one or the other. And when we get into that kind of mode, or, I'll say it, when our government is a two-party system entrenched in its political ideas and opposed to one another more often than interested in supporting democracy and following, like, say, scientific consensus or, civic literacies, like, hey, what are the basics of democracy and how do we support that? Even when we disagree with one another, we leave ourselves extremely vulnerable, like Jacob said, for what we know and have been calling in news and in this moment a cultural war, right? We don't have like 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 different competing perspectives on this. And so this is all that. It's a put down to kids, the specific article. The kids not only are spending too much time learning about different pronouns, they don't even know what a pronoun is. You're attacking identities and you're attacking the intelligence of young people.
Right.
And implicitly their teachers.
But this though, again, scientific consensus, but and yes, I agree with you. Actually, that is still the way of the world, testing and standards and things like that. We know. However, I would point out that it's not very popular. Jennifer Berkshire, who has done incredible historical research on the education reform movement and what it has produced, and it has produced a real kind of either ambivalence or even a push for students and parents to say we've had enough, and now this whole why is quote privatizing becoming popular is, well, to get you out of these schools. I see Rahm Emanuel railing and saying we need more of what isn't working currently. I'll give you that. And in fact, he goes on to the next thing, of which we have had very deep discussions about, saying, science of reading. We have to put this in. You're talking back to science. We've had, our favorite guest, Dr. Nancy Carlson Page, Matt Damon's mom, come on and point out that, this whole quote science of reading thing isn't science. It in and of itself is a politically motivated way to stop multiple ways of allowing kids to learn how to read and allowing teachers to learn how to read. And so, is it really a good, I'm going to put it this way, is it a good strategy to impose on the Democrats that they double down on crap?
Well, Tim, it's snake oil sales. This interview, this article, let's call it for what it is. It's an ad for political support and for purchasing. If we trace the money, I haven't done the research on this, but if you back the money up to that high stakes testing standards era that I claim we're still very heavily in it, it's, hey, science of reading one isn't science, right? It's just a marketing name. It's like if I call, my telephone, it's a communication box, right? Or whatever. It's giving a name to a product. Science of reading is like the name. It's a marketing brand. So he says it attacks students' knowledge, like how well students are doing. He says, if you believe these things, it's a dog whistle. Call in the people. If you feel like this about you're tired of pronouns and you think kids should be learning a specific way, buy my product. Now, it might not be his direct product, but it's a group of people, right, who have at all times worked to maintain the use of education as one, a place to make money, so marketize it, and two, to maintain social class. I know I sound like conspiracy theorist in that, like these people want to keep poor kids poor, but the idea here being is the reason why we have the pushback against the high stakes testing, Tim, right, is because within a fraction of a tenth of my long day, my math terms are all over the place, but there's researchers who could predict the kid's ACT and SAT score within a tenth of a point, right?
Right.
Based on their socioeconomic status. And we still haven't addressed that fully. These attempts to say, hey, because of the inequality in our communities, these tests further exacerbate and don't necessarily show understanding. They just sort people. So the idea being, many universities, many places have said, well, there's compelling evidence here to look at, candidates, applicants differently.
Right.
To find a better measure of your success and knowledge base. Well, also, guess what? Those tests belong to a test company that gets administered and does this harmful sorting, and we pay for it. As individuals, you pay to take these tests. So again, just deciphering the code, which is what I love to do with news headlines, especially in the politically irresponsible ones like Fox News, or there's, I'm sure, liberal versions of the same thing, right? It's all guilty parties. Sometimes you just got to sift through and call out what it is. It's attacking diverse people. It's attacking the science, not the science of reading brand, the actual practice of
science
and gender, like medical research.
Right.
It's attacking that, and then says, if you want to attack that with me, like that's what riles you up. Well, let's also kick a kid while they're down because they're stupid and don't know pronouns. And in fact, why are they even learning about pronouns? Oh, just ignore the fact that science is really proven to us that there are diverse gender identities. Okay, so if you're with me, buy my product.
Well, buy my product, but it's also and so if you like the way Republicans have made things, elect me as a Democrat because I'm now going to stand for the things that the Republicans have put in place. I see this as a political strategy of going, did he really even have any consultants that he paid to actually come up with this winning strategy for the Democrats? Democrats, if you're out there listening, tell Rahm Emanuel enough. Hey, but you haven't had enough of us. We'll be right back. Man, always love that coming back. Yes, Tim, Johnny, Jacob, Busted Pencils, Fully Loaded, Education Talk. And we almost had him in here, Chunk, the fattest bear. We couldn't get him on, though. He is right now fully booked up. Jacob, you tried.
Yeah, apologies to Chunk the Bear. We're going to try to get you on next week. We ran out of time.
Man.
Yeah. Up
Darn.
next, when we come back, Chunk the Bear.
When we come back, we're trying to get Chunk the Bear on. Fattest bear with a broken jaw. Anyway, Johnny, here's we're coming in there.
He won fattest bear.
He won
contest,
fattest bear, right?
Despite that he had a broken jaw. Presumably he got in a fight with other bears. But people were very concerned about his ability to, feast on the lavish salmon and all the different fruits of the part.
Johnny brought this article and we said, you want to talk about Chunk the Bear? He said, no, we don't have to talk about it. But look, he wants to talk about Chunk the Bear
Tim
so
teed
bad.
it up, and I love Chunk the Bear. I think it's a great story. Hey, but bears prepare for hibernation by eating a lot and fattening up. And in Alaska, little geography lesson here. They have Fat Bear contest and Fat Bear Week because it's getting close to that time of year where, like, hey, if you haven't fattened up, it's going to be a rough hibernation. So, they do a contest and by a landslide of voting, right? The people spoke and Chunk 32. Yeah, man, he won fattest bear contest, Fat Bear Week. So champion this week. I
wonder if there's a counter contest of the salmon that get past the fattest bear. If we should hold that salmon up as being a champion himself for avoiding becoming part of Fat Bear.
I know very little about salmon. I should know more. I wish I knew way more about them because they're very interesting to me. But Tim, don't they go upstream to die?
They're headed on their
way.
Win.
Guess what? You win. You made it. You were not eaten, so you spawn and die.
You get to become part of the fertilization of the but actually, Johnny, again, educationally, that whole process of swimming upstream and dying is also an incredible part of the healthy ecosystem of the streams because the decomposition of those fish actually put nutrients back into the stream. There's a whole science lesson here, which makes it very short. Then, Johnny, do you want to go to the Harvard School of Carpentry? Because it seems like you may have that opportunity because last news, we'll cover it real quickly, but Harvard, it seems, is going to be committing $500 million to create a round of or a set of trade schools. And this is also that President Trump will give them back all of the money he's been holding up for them. And this is a deal that was announced coming out of Inside Higher Education. Linda McMahon and the president were having a press conference. And as the president pointed out, the paper, it may have been papered already at this point, whatever papered means.
It may have been papered. Whatever that means.
Have been papered. And if you want to know what would be going on in these trade schools, Johnny, according quote President Trump, they'll be teaching people how to do AI, lots of other things, engines, lots of things.
Well, Tim, this is interesting. I actually really like this article you're bringing here because a while ago we kind of dove into what's going on with this beef with Harvard and what's going on with the art. You shared your favorite book with me a few years ago. I think it's called The Art of the Deal. That's me using the sarcasm. Look at that. No.
Nice.
But the negotiation tactic here, we're still in this. Let's kind of see if there's not something we can do. I'll take this from you. I'll sanction you in this way. And then we'll see. And I'll make some proposals and you make some proposals. And let's get all worked up, yell at each other, rage, regret, remorse, repair, all the whole cycle of dysfunctional relationships and call it good. And that's the art of the deal. Hey, let's go. But no, the beef with Harvard is a real thing with higher ed. And it's a negotiation tactic. Like, hey, and so this is Harvard trying to get some of that money that's frozen up freed.
Right.
And I think good. Hey, if they're gonna, put $500 million into, is that what you said? They're investing or free?
No. To me, this actually wouldn't be as kind of twisted as I think it is if they were donating $500 million to support the existing trade schools.
Well, we don't really have there's like a lack of really good trade schools by and large. So to me, this is like unfortunate situation with a really good kind of possible outcome.
Yeah. But you know what, Johnny? As long as they paper it, we'll be there. And now it's time for your moment of Zen. Before I became a college professor, I was a shipyard worker. Before I was a writer, I was a warehouse worker. But whatever I did, I was always a member of a labor union.
Hey, thanks for listening to Busted Pencils broadcast today. Remember to grab great podcasts chock full of more fully leaded education talk on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and of course, you can always find us on the Civic Media website. And don't be late for homeroom on Monday. And guess what, folks? Make sure you catch next week's class in session on Wednesday. And you can always find us on Fridays with producer Jacob's Choice. And just like today, Busted Pencils broadcast airs 3 p.m. Central Time across all the Civic Media Network stations for 1 hour of your favorite blue-collar scholars, Tim and Johnny, and keep busting pencils.